Welcome to another Media Theorist video. A reminder as always that the lesson slides are on the Google site, and the lesson slide will contain a number of tasks which you will need to complete, especially if you're doing this lesson for the first time, having missed it, or perhaps are revising this concept for the exam. So this is the Laura Mulvey male gaze theory video. I'm going to start with some recap and some retrieval of Propian archetypes. Prop identified 7 character archetypes, traditionally from folk tales and fairy tales, but we do see a lot of those still represented and used in mainstream media, in particular in Hollywood. So, for a little bit of retrieval, acknowledging the Propian princess and the other Propian archetypes that you may also need to revise. Can you recall and retrieve the characteristics of the Propian princess? List all of the conventions usually associated with the Propian princess. Can you list a number of Propian princesses present in mainstream media? And can you then rank them according to the most and least Propian, according to how many of those attributes you think that they have? For example, there may well be instances of Princess Leia, Disney princesses, Bond girls, and you will find articles online which will cover a number of those attributes, acknowledging, if nothing else, their visual appearance and their passivity in the story or the narrative. And that leads us into Laura Mulvey and the audience positioning that the male gaze will deal with. Okay? So, an exam question could be, analyze how the objectification of femininity is exploited in media texts. Use any clips you have studied as examples for perhaps 10 marks. In this question, the exam will definitely be asking you or expecting you to refer to Laura Mulvey's theory, and we'll explore that in a little bit more detail now to allow you to do that. Okay? So, one of the core concepts is that audiences view women through the eye of a heterosexual male. This is referred to as the lens. It's often a metaphor, but is also realistically a commentary on Hollywood, that most directors will be male. So as a result of that, there's less opportunity for female characters to be rendered or represented any other way than perhaps a stereotypical Propian princess, or perhaps through the lens of a male, leading to the male gaze theory. So we are dealing with objectification, sexualization, and a commentary on how these characters look, which will be exploited and emphasized in the media products. So again, we will see this beyond Hollywood. We will see this in magazines, on posters, and how those characters are framed within the movie products, the moving image products that we see. Having said that, it's not all about objectification. There's an acknowledgement that female characters are constructed as secondary characters in the narrative and are passive participants in the narrative. They are often the girlfriend character, the prize to be won, the Propian princess. So please don't always acknowledge it only to be about objectification and visual appearance. There is the acknowledgement of their position as secondary passive participants in the narrative as well. Okay, a number of characters are rendered as the girlfriend of the male character. Okay, some tasks for you to tackle: acknowledging the different roles male and female characters play in any given media products. So perhaps, again, to pause the video at this stage, get a piece of paper out. Can you acknowledge characteristics of passive female characters and acknowledge characteristics of active male characters, and consider those stereotypes? This may also be an opportunity to bring in some Andy Medhurst shorthand. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at this task now. I'll reveal the answers in a second. So you are looking at perhaps female characters being passive and to be looked at, objects of the male gaze, in need of some sort of protection, sexually submissive, focus of sexual fantasies, an ego that is ignored, supporting the men, weak and dependent. Then you pretty much have binary oppositions of all of those attributes, where you have men looking at the object. They are the possessors of the male gaze. Instead of needing protection, the male characters will be the protectors. They will be dominant sexually. They will be the projection of those fantasies. They will have an ego that needs to be fulfilled. They will take the lead and not be supportive. They will be strong, not weak, and they will be independent, not dependent. So we are also looking at some Levi Strauss binary opposition here as well. We could take that one further and have a look at how that could be another task for you to tackle. So again, pause the video now, and can you come up with an example from the media landscape of a character who is in need of protection, a character who then protects that character, a character who is perhaps supportive of men, and then a character who is perhaps taking the lead. So again, pause the video now and please come up with your own examples to that task. There are some other aspects to consider. How are these rules enforced? How are they shot? How is costume important? How do those characters behave? What body language is often then used to create an objectified female character? Okay. How is that role in the wider narrative emphasized? And how do we see countertypes of that? How could we see female characters be shown as countertypical to these constructions? Going back to that question, analyze how objectification of femininity is exploited in media text. Use any of the clips you've studied as examples. The previous table that you've just came up with your identified media products that could be examples of this question could now be used as a plan to respond to this question and write out paragraphs to hopefully try and get 10 marks out of 10. Remembering that there are two aspects to this theory. Audiences are viewed through the eye of a heterosexual male lens and objectified sexually, and are also considered secondary passive participants in the narrative. Some text that you may want to explore. Again, pause the video, play these videos yourself and make notes. We could be looking at James Bond and any of the Bond girls, but please don't refer to Bond girls generically in a media response. Please refer to a specific Bond girl in a specific film. So for example, this is Jinx in Die Another Day. And we also have Black Widow, so please don't say, for example, in comic book films. Please say, for example, Natasha Romanoff's character in Iron Man 2. So be specific about the media products that you are referring to. And talk about camera, lighting, sound, setting, costume, body language, the way they interact with others, the wider impact on the narrative. Use the micro language to analyze the media product. Okay? And then consider the criticism and the countertypical representations possible with the male gaze. Laura Mulvey herself has challenged the theory and acknowledged that male characters can also be sexualized. Okay? So, and some other examples present in the text that you may want to explore with time. Okay? So, to summarize, please don't acknowledge that Laura Mulvey's male gaze theory is only about sexual objectification of female characters. That is a big part of the theory, but there is also that acknowledgement of them being secondary passive participants. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and good luck for the exam.